Hey everybody, so I'm doing a bit of a different video. It is trans related, but I actually put a lot of research into this video because I want to make videos that you guys think are worth watching, especially with the new subscribers and all of that. I want to really impress you guys. So I actually did some research about some of these things I knew about, which is why I even got the whole idea behind making this video. But I did some research about like the history of trans people, essentially, and I found some interesting things about just how our world, how our society has really treated trans people in the past, and in the present time and all of that, and just sort of the roles that they were assigned. And so, I'm just going to jump into it. I don't really have any sort of, like, well, I have okay, we're just, oh god, there's I don't know if you guys can hear that, but a cat is having, like, a sneeze fit. So anyway, so, some of you guys know that, like, trans people have obviously been around forever, and they have, dated trans people all the way back to, like, the Roman times, the Roman Empire. There were trans people there. And what I find interesting is in that society, it wasn't really a big deal. And it's funny that 2,000 years later, it's an issue in our society. I blame the Dark Ages, but, whatever. So, there's history of trans people all the way, for as long as we can document for the most part. And so that just proves to me that it's not something like, people try to say now, oh, it's a disorder, or, oh, it's something that, your parents have done to you or something like that. It's obviously something that just happens. It's just it's one of those, whatever, accidents. I don't know what you really want to call it. I don't necessarily have an issue with the fact that I'm trans. I mean, I do to a degree, but, because it's like, well, I couldn't just be born normal. But, I don't really know what to really call it. I don't think of it as being a disorder, because it's not that it's anything wrong with any of us. But it's definitely a struggle that a lot of people don't have to go through. And that cat is sneezing again. Okay. So, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but that was intense. Okay, so, I live in the South, and here in the Bible Belt, if you're not familiar with the South, or you're not from the United States, something like that, the South is a very religious area of the United States, and I've lived in the South all my life, but it's funny the way that the Southerners are, to the rest of America, and I don't even know, maybe to the rest of the world, if they're even familiar with the South. But I know that in America, a lot of people think of the South as like, oh, that's the hospitality area. Like, everyone's always so nice down there. And some people are, obviously. There are a lot of really nice people, but that's everywhere. What I've noticed from living in the South for as long as I have is that it's a lot of, like, talking behind people's backs. There's a lot of, like, to your face, like, oh, honey child, like, blah, 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 really sweet, they'll make you anything to eat, all this kind of stuff, and the minute you walk, you turn a corner or whatever, you're out of earshot, they are ragging you down. And that is just the South. I don't know what it is. I don't know why people do it. Probably because there's nothing else to do here except for talk shit about people. And it's no different for being trans. I've lived on both sides, and I've lived as a guy, and I've lived as a girl. And it's really interesting to see how different it is from both sides. Like, as a guy, where people assumed that I was gay because I was very feminine, no one really had anything to do with me. It was very, like, everyone was, like, uncomfortable. And now, in general society, I'm just seen as a girl, and it's not, people are a lot nicer. They'll hold doors open all the time, and they don't have any issues just coming up and speaking to me, whereas before they did. And so that's interesting. Of course, when they find out that I am trans, it's either they have a million questions and they're, like, interested because they want to almost interview you, which I don't mind that. I'd rather you ask questions than make assumptions or something, or they're immediately disgusted. And there's very few people that are in the middle, just been like, oh, whatever, I don't care, you know. It's either like they have great interest or they're really disgusted. And I guess that could also be anywhere. I don't know. I've only lived in the South, but in the South, when people say that they're disgusted by it or they have some sort of criticism to make, it's normally based in religion. And, you know, like I said, the South is the Bible Belt, and everyone is... The way that religion works in the South is that everyone here is very quick to tell you what their beliefs are and how you are offending them. Not so much about just like spreading the word of whatever and wondering, you know, and just like wanting to actually teach you. It's they're going to tell you whatever it is that they, you know, whatever they believe and how you're offending them. And that's just really fucked up in my opinion, you know. Like, I mean, I have my own religious beliefs as well as any of you guys do, and I don't jump out and be like, blah, 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 I'm going to tell you everything I think, and if you're offending me, I'm going to tell you. And that's really how it is. Like, I can't even count the number of times that I've had a pastor come into the restaurant that I work at and not leave me a tip, but leave me a pamphlet. Or, especially, not as much now, it's normally like that to leave a pamphlet or something, or, you know, and say, oh, come to my church or whatever. But before, when I was just seen as a gay man, they were very quick to tell me that I was living a life of sin, and that if I didn't change my ways, I was going to go to hell, and that, you know, I could come to their church, they would help me, and all of that bullshit. And I find that so offensive, because you don't know what my fucking beliefs are. There's a lot of gay people that are Christians, and I would, if I was one of those people that was Christian and was homosexual, I would have been very, very aggravated that someone of the same faith as me is assuming that because I'm homosexual, that is assuming that I'm like a sinner and I'm going to hell and they need to save me. That's insulting, you know. Like, I don't understand. Like, those are things, like, you don't just, you know, politics and religion are often seen as things you don't really discuss. I don't know how the rest of the country or the world is, but in my area, that's just, you don't do that, because you're always gonna offend someone. And you know, obviously I like talking about these things if you get into a private conversation and, you know, there's not gonna be any issues. But just a random stranger coming in and I'm waiting on them, is to do that to me, that's very awkward, because, you know, I am at work. I can only say so much. But, you know, that's just how it is here. So a lot of people use religion to say that it's wrong to be trans or whatever, and they'll, you know, use that as their platform to bash people like me and like us. So what I researched was the, like, philosophical ideas about what makes someone trans, or what their ideas or what their opinion is on trans people. And I also looked into the scientific, like, medical research as to what makes someone trans. And I find it very interesting because they're very, very different. You know, like the philosophical stuff, there's accounts in, I looked up in India, there's a community, I'm pronouncing this Hijra, Hijra, I don't really know, but they're seen as a third sex, and it's essentially this group of, I wouldn't really call them trans. A lot of the people that are in this group, I guess it's an eclectic group. It's, I guess it could be trans people, gay people, people that have birth defects even, and it's all regarded, like, the birth defects. Essentially what this group is they'll take men, or what they're, you know, perceiving as a man, and if they are trans, they'll force them into this community, and along with gay people and people that have some sort of, you know, if they have a disorder or something and their genitals don't work, or they are infertile or something like that, and they'll force them into this community called the Hijra, and it's seen as like a third sex, and they are essentially forcing them into a feminine role. They're emasculating them and forcing them into being cross-dressers, kind of like forcing them to assimilate into a female role. And it's really, really messed up. I had heard about this before, and I was told a totally different thing. I was told that it was like, oh, they were really, really cool about it. My phone is constantly going off. And after doing more research, you find out that it's actually not good to be in this role. It's I don't know what area in India this is. I don't really know anything about that. I just know that there is a group of people, and I think they said they've been around for about 1,000 years. That this society has been around for about 1,000 years. So they have their own little caste system, but yeah, it's not good. So that's a bad example of how trans people have been treated. Then you look at like Native Americans, and they have in different Native American tribes, they had people that were called, I'm gonna butcher this. I think it's like Burdox or something. I'm not sure, but it's pronounced B-E-R, or it's not pronounced. It's spelled B-E-R-D-A-C-H-E-S, and they have up to 4 genders in a lot of Native American tribes, and these people, Burdox or Bardoches, I don't know, they are members of the 3rd and 4th genders, and that these people actually have like great roles in these people in their tribe society. They would have like a high religious role or a high like economical role. They would just be very like high in society people. Like they were actually reserved and seen as being really important people of society. So that was, I found that really interesting, that there is a total opposite. One culture thinks these are like horrible, disgusting people. The other culture thinks they are like amazing, two-souled people, or just like highly evolved, highly respected. Really, that cat is sneezing again, you guys. So those are the examples that I came up with, and then I looked into the scientific and medical part of it, and this I found interesting too, because I had heard of a theory before that you know, when everyone is forming in the womb, when your mommy and your daddy make a baby and all that stuff, or your mom and your mommy, your daddy and your daddy, whatever it is, but when a sperm and an egg connect and create an embryo and yada yada yada, we all know how that works. Everyone starts out as a female in the womb. That's why men have nipples, because you started out as a girl once upon a time. So I don't know if you knew that, but you were a girl once upon a time. So essentially what they've done is they've done some studies on a region of the brain called the stria terminalis. I can't read my own writing, you guys. I'm so sorry. And it's a region of the brain that is known for sex and anxiety responses. And they found that male to female transsexuals had, that part of the brain was identical to a genetic female's brain, and vice versa for female to males. They would notice that part of the brain was very much like a male's brain. That's really the only difference in how the brains look. But so that was really interesting. So there's obviously some sort of hardwiring there that has, you know, something has gone wrong with the rest of the body. And so the theory is that if everyone's not born a female, but started out as a female, everyone has 2 chromosomes, XX or XY. The XY would be male, XX would be female. And so everyone starts out with the X. So their body and everything's going to start forming as female. And they're either going to have another X or another Y, or another X or a Y. And so what they think happens is that for male to females, their body be growing as female, their brain would be growing as female, and then for whatever reason, the other chromosome would start and their body would change over, and their body would start going by the other chromosome and being physically male, but the brain never got changed over. And the same, and vice versa for female to males. It would be that the brain got switched over and the body never changed. And they don't know why that happens, but that's the only theory they can possibly come up with as to why it happens. Especially when you see in the brain that they are identical to, like my brain would be identical to a genetic female's, and a female to males would be identical to a male's brain. A genetic male's brain. So that was really interesting. And then I also looked into, there's phantom limb syndrome. That often happens if you are, you're missing a limb or something. If you got your leg amputated or whatever, you'll have a phantom sensation that your leg or whatever part of your body that is gone now is still there. And so they did a study on men, like cisgendered males, and it said 2/3 of cisgendered males who had lost their penis surgically, had their penis surgically removed, experienced phantom limb syndrome, whereas only 1/3 of male to female transsexuals experienced the same thing. So a whole third of the previous amount of people wasn't accounted for. So that's really interesting that I didn't even know it was that high, though, honestly, that 1/3 of male to females would regret having that surgery, and you'd have the phantom limb syndrome thing. So I feel like that's further proof that obviously there's something going on with male to females that, and females to males, same, but that part of the body is not supposed to be there. I mean, like, I know for myself, and this might sound crazy, but I feel like some of you guys are going to understand where I'm coming from. And I told a friend of mine about this recently, that I can actually, like, even though physically it's not there, I swear I can actually feel, like, where my vagina is, what it feels like. I swear I can feel it. Like, I can, like, clench it. Like, I feel like it's there. It's obviously not there, but I feel like it's there. And so when I found the other thing they talked about, which was about female to males, this really struck out to me, because it said that 2/3 of female to male trans people reported a sensation of having a phantom penis when they were younger. That they felt like they had a penis that wasn't actually there. And so that really struck out to me, because I was like, that's really, really neat. Like, that's the same way that I feel, but vice versa. That I have a psychic vagina, or a, phantom vagina that is there, that's not actually there. So yeah, that's really all the research that I did. I just wanted to find some information on what has caused us to be this way, and what different societies think of people like us. And I knew most of what I read about, but a few of the things were new to me, and so maybe that'll be new to you too. But that's about it. I've probably talked your guys' ear off now, so I'm going to go, and I hope you guys have a great week and all that good stuff, and I'll see you next time. Bye.